Very good morning to you, Danny.
Hi, Julia. Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. I mean, this story has been ongoing for so many years. I had a 6-month-old when she went missing, and I have to say, bore an uncanny resemblance to Madeleine McCann in her early years. And I have to say, always, I think a lot of people are fascinated by the story, mostly because it's sort of there, but for the grace of God for many, many parents. Although I think most of us would pay for a babysitter or not leave our child alone. And, you know, we've talked about that many times. But some 30 German police officers and forensic specialists are searching these routes near Praia de Luz. Tell us the detail behind this, and tell us a little bit more about Christian Bruckner, the man who they suspect of this crime.
Well, this isn't the first time that land has been searched near Praia de Luz. You remember 2 years ago, a reservoir was searched. This was an area that was frequented by Christian Bruckner, who's the prime suspect in this case, certainly as far as the German authorities are concerned. And there have been previous searches as well that have all essentially come to nothing. But it feels as though the sense is that this is the kind of last chance for the German authorities to try and find some evidence, to try and find a clue, or indeed to try and find Madeleine before they have to release this suspect from custody. He's due to be released in September. He's serving a sentence for the rape of a 72-year-old woman, a US tourist, in 2005. It's due to be freed in September. It's thought that could be pushed back to early spring, depends on whether he pays a fine that he owes. But in any case, the clock is ticking because quite clearly he has not been charged with the abduction of Madeleine or Madeleine's murder or anything to do with Madeleine. Therefore, the assumption is that the German authorities do not have enough evidence to press charges. Otherwise, they would have done so. So this search would appear to be a sort of a last gasp opportunity to try and uncover some critical evidence in this case.
And we know he's also a convicted paedophile. And we also know that, I mean, the Sun has revealed extraordinary evidence that was, I think, in a Channel 4 documentary, that the police have stuff that was found, on his phone, buried in property that he owned, huge number of, little children's swimsuits and horrific conversations and videos involving, rape of young children, conversations talking about what they wanted to do to children. I mean, there's an awful lot of sort of circumstantial evidence that people will be looking at. But the crucial point here is, after all these many, many years, is finding a body.
Yes, and that's what the search is presumably about, or some other crucial evidence. I mean, as you said, a very strong circumstantial case. This man is a paedophile who has got interest in little girls, and a sexual obsession with little girls. He was also in Portugal at about that time, and actually in the location, near the location where Madeleine disappeared.
He had a conversation with someone else about having killed her, did he not?
And it's alleged that he had a conversation with someone that suggested that he had killed her. So there is some good evidence, but clearly not enough direct evidence to link him to Madeleine's abduction and possible murder at this stage. So, I mean, this is an extensive search. I think that it's important to point that out. It's not just something, a couple of people sort of having a quick look around. It's due to go on for the rest of the week. There are 30 German officers there. There are apparently 21 different plots of land where the German police have been given permission by the Portuguese to search. A fire engine, various other vehicles have already arrived at the scene. Searches like this cost a lot of time, money, and take up a lot of resources. So a lot of thought will have gone into doing this. Let's hope they do, uncover some critical evidence in this case, which helps resolve it. I mean, it must be agonising for Madeleine's parents.
I was just going to ask you about this, because every single time, look, they kept this story in the news because they wanted to find her. They themselves were accused at one point of being suspects by the Portuguese police, who carried out an absolutely hopeless investigation and search in the immediate aftermath of Madeleine McCann's disappearance. But they've gone through hell. I mean, the worst possible thing in the world. I mean, the best case scenario is finding their daughter alive, but I suppose the second best scenario is to have some closure. because we've seen so many cases, haven't we? Austria and America, very, very high-profile cases of children who go missing, who are found years, sometimes even decades later. And you would never, as a mum or a dad, ever be able to give up some hope, would you?
No, I absolutely agree with you. And they've never given up hope. And that's always been their hope, that Madeleine is somewhere alive. But I think they're also realists as well. And they will understand the German investigators' view that Madeleine has died, and the belief from the German prosecuting authorities that she died at the hands of Christian Bruckner. And they will be watching the search. They will be aware of all of this. I'm sure they'll be getting updates from family liaison officers based in Leicestershire, from Leicestershire Police. But it's absolutely horrendous for them. They've just sort of gone through the anniversary, which comes up every year, of her disappearance, which must bring back all the memories of that awful time. And now we're having the search played out on our TV screens
once again, indeed. And again, your heart goes out to them, but there has been a lot of criticism of not just the Portuguese police, but also the cost to British police. And I think the very, very fair point that blonde-haired, pretty little white girl of middle-class parents, both doctors, going missing, and all of the resources that went into that. They're able to go and speak to a Prime Minister himself and get extra resources. I mean, I think £10 million plus on this search. So many children go missing. And the research is nothing like this. The resources are nothing like this. The media coverage is nothing like this. There is a lot of criticism that so much energy has been put into, and resource put into this one little girl. Now, if it's your own child, absolutely. But what do you make of that criticism?
I think it's fair criticism, but I think we'd all do the same in that situation.
Absolutely.
We would all go to whatever lengths possible to try and find our child. And it's not the only one. You think of Ben Needham and that case in Yorkshire, the boy that went missing in Greece. Again, a huge amount of coverage, and you would press all those buttons, wouldn't you? And so you can't blame the family for that.
No.
There are questions possibly for the Home Office that every year, for I don't know, the past 15 years, they've approved a large sum of money to go specifically to the Metropolitan Police to carry out its work in relation to this. I'm sure that will come under intense scrutiny. Does that money still need to be paid, or is it now in the hands of the German authorities? Should they just take the lead in the investigation? So, and you're absolutely right. 300,000 plus people go missing every year, and they don't get the level of service and investigation that this case does.
You know what would have been cheaper? A babysitter. I'm saying, we're all thinking it. We're all thinking, or someone staying at home with the kids. 3 little children, 2 of them babies. Every other parent, one of them would have been...
I think every parent has had those conversations, and had those conversations back in 2007, Julian. As you were the mother of, I was the mother, I was the father of 2 young boys at that time, and
we all
those conversations were also had and had
again,
by lots of parents as well.
Still wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I wouldn't wish them to have their child to pay such a terrible penalty. And I know we're all thinking that, but you can't help just thinking, there but for the grace. Danny Shaw, really appreciate you joining us for Home Affairs.